Hello everybody and welcome along to the this stream. My name is DJ, I am the community manager for Tiny Build, and with me is Cheng. Cheng, introduce yourself please.
Hello everyone, I am Cheng of Acme Game Studio, and I'm the game director of the game Asterigos Curse of Stars, and today I will be answering for the questions you have. And thank you for watching this session.
So we've got a bunch of questions that we've gathered from various different places, Discord, Steam, and social media platforms. We're going to be asking those to Chen throughout this. It is also very, very worth pointing out that the game is now on sale. You can get it for up to 45% off because it is the anniversary of the release of Asterigos. Asterigos is now a year old, and we are celebrating with a sale. Now, we're going to move straight on to the questions because that's what you're all here for. So, starting out, Chen, I would like to know, this is your first game as a game studio. How long did it take from initial concept to release to make Asterigos?
It takes us 6 years in total to develop the full game, but initially we spent like 3 years to work on the base structure, as we have never been using the game engine Unreal Engine 4. So we spent a little bit more time on training the people and recruit and finding, the office for the studio and get everything prepared. And as the pipeline has been set up, it's been another 3 years for us to make all the game assets and then patch up everything together, and here you go, that's the game. There it goes.
So you said there about the fact that it's the first game that you've worked on Unreal and training people up. How important is it to have people with the right skills for the game engine? For those that aren't in game development, how important is it to make sure that the people working on the game really understand the game engine?
It depends on what kind of tools you want to use for the game. So at first, we do a lot of drafting, and we have tested a lot of game engines, including Lumberyard by Amazon or Unity. A lot of developers have done that. But in the end, we choose Unreal Engine 4 because, one of the biggest strengths for Unreal Engine 4 is it is open source. And as the game engine is open source, you can interact and discuss with a lot of developers across the world. As a lot of people, they spend their time studying or developing and discussing, or even try to help each other. So there are a lot of resources that we can use from the internet, and thanks to those people who have helped us all along. And we have a bunch of great team members that they are not very familiar with the engine. And I think it's one of the key factors that my team, could develop Asterigos.
So, and thank you for that. I really appreciate answers like that, where I find when we do these streams, people are desperate to know how does the cake get made. And answers like that are so enlightening, they genuinely are. So, moving on to our next question, how did you come up with the name Asterigos Curse of the Stars?
Alright, so initially the game doesn't have the subtitle Curse of Stars, it was just Asterigos. And Asterigos is a word that, made up by our writer. Because the game is based on, the Greek and Roman mythology, so using a Latin word to make up the name of the game make us feel it is very important. So as stars is a very key element to the story. So the stars in Latin is Asterigos, and there's another thing that is called Algos, which means the pen. So the pen from the star means Asterigos, and it literally means the name of the curse that the players will encounter again. So Asterigos is the curse of the stars. And when we start working with our publisher, Honeyfield, they have provided suggestions that we can add a subtitle to explain why or what is Asterigos, so that the players, when they meet this game, they will know, oh, Asterigos is the curse of the stars, and that's how we make up the name.
So there you go. And again, the questions we've had from the community have been really, really wonderful like this. There's a real gamut of different types of questions that we're going to be going through. Moving on to the next one. Where did this idea originally come from, and why so this is a two-part question. Where did the idea for Asterigos originally come from? And then why the Greek and Roman setting? And are those two things interlinked?
I think I can answer this one along with more about what I have already answered just now. As the game is focusing on a curse that's called Asterigos, and is the curse from the stars. So yes, that's how Asterigos come from. And as stars is a very important cultural factor when you start to read the history for Roman or Greek, and you will see that they have used a lot of constellation and the stars to do a lot of metaphor or hinting, or try to tell some stories, or I would say battles to the people, and that's why we try to use this curse of stars, try to link with the Greek and Roman mythology that have inspired us in the very first place.
So, but why then? Why Greek and Roman? What was it about that drew you to it as a team?
Greek and Roman, they have very fascinating history and culture, and even in 15th to 16th century, that's like around 500 years ago, people they start to realize that back in more than 1,000 years ago, there's a very strong empire that has a lot of rich history and a lot of knowledge that has been lost to the time. But now, if we can rediscover this, and it would be very helpful for people to, even developing the current system and try to, improve the current society. So, to people about 500 years ago, they find out that the Roman Empire and the Greek culture has some very, very, good parts that can still be very useful for their world. So for us, we think that we want to make people feel like they are trying to explore something that is ancient yet very, very richful and resourceful, and they might find something that is very surprising and that will also be very, very entertaining and very fun, and they'll be fascinating. So yeah, that's why we feel it is a lot better than just the medieval settings.
Yeah, absolutely. It gives it a really unique look and aesthetic, doesn't it? It just immediately you look at the game and it looks different, particularly in the genre that you're in, right? Most games in that genre are very dark and gritty, and Asterigos is bright and colourful, and yeah, that's something that I noted the first time I looked at the game that I wasn't expecting, to be honest, and really impressed me.
Yeah, we think that bringing more colors to the game can make the player feel more brighter, and we want the player to have fun and feel happy when they are playing this game. So we think that adding more colors is very important to, and that's why we make the decision.
I think that's wonderful. So the next question, why the focus on stars? And the person who asked this also wanted to know, were stars important within Greek and Roman sort of cultures back in the day and their mythology and such like?
Right. So, as I said, constellation has been a very important part for Greek and Roman mythology, and we think that in those myths, the constellations are composed by characters or some people in their clips. So we think that would add more, I would say, a rich history and feel more cultural and feel more unique. And we think that making stars an important part of the world we create will actually make this game more unique and make people that would feel immersive when they are trying to explore the world and seeing that the stars has played an important role, just like the stars has played a very big part of Roman and Greek mythology.
So, and this question sort of leads straight on from what we've been talking about here. The cult of Asterigos, is it based on anything real, or is that something you guys came up with on your own?
We have came up, kind of on our own, but we draw a lot of inspirations, and we have referenced the origins of many cults in history, and for many thousand years in human history, there are a lot of cults that are originated among the lower class people, or sometimes even arise from the upper class society as well. And either the lower class people or nobility, they might even come together and neglect all their class difference and treating each other in equality, like there is no rank or no class at all, or maybe it's all just part of a very, very big conspiracy that someone has been manipulated behind everything, and that's how a cult is working. So we think that this kind of feels is what we want to add to the cult of Asterigos. As the city of Athens, it has three different castes, which is the nobles and the citizens and the slaves. But if the people who join the cult of Asterigos, they can neglect all the different castes and they can just treat each other like equality. But someone behind the cult has tried to manipulate these people and using them for their own agenda and trying to do something bad. And I think that's how Asterigos cult is to be. And we draw this kind of inspiration from the many cults from the human history.
So there you go. It's not a direct one. It's just one that's got a lot of hints of things in it.
Yeah.
So the next question: what are the advantages and disadvantages of designing a world based around pre-existing myth and legend? And where did you decide to? Actually, I'll follow up with the second part. So, how much of an advantage was it creating a world around pre-existing myth and legend?
Alright. We draw inspiration from the myth and legend, but it's not based on it. So our goal is to create a unique world that has its own original myth and has its own unique history and has its own culture, I would say. As the world is full of magic and wonders. So we hope that the people, they can find some similar or some familiar elements that they can see from the history, but also some very unique elements that blend together with those elements from the real world. So it is not easy for players to understand something that is completely unusual, but adding those familiar things from the real world could help people to, get faster to understand the world that we have created.
Yeah, it gives them a touchstone, doesn't it, to sort of base the world off of in their heads and build from, rather than having to start right from scratch.
Right, you got that.
Yep, Yep, it definitely provides some advantages. So, then the second part of this question is, where did it... How easy was it to go, right, that's enough real, now it's us? Where did you draw that line, and how easy was it to decide at different times where to draw that line?
I know that it is a little bit hard and tricky to answer that, but you have to, start to just write everything and copy everything from history and replace a few more characters from it, and then you try to add elements into it and try to blend them together, and you have to start to do a lot of editing and try to do a lot of brainstorming, and eventually people will sit down together and discuss what is the best result that we are going to do. So that's how it is.
So there you go, there's the process.
Right.
So our next question then, which games, movies or books did you draw inspiration from for Asterigos?
Actually, when people are talking about the Greek inspired games, I think no one would forget about God of War, the original series. Not the latest one. The latest one is called North, but the first trilogy of God of War, it gave us a lot of inspirations, and we see that they create a very violent yet very fascinating world that players they can immerse themselves and trying to give out all they have, and we just think that sometimes if we can make this game a little bit more accessible to the players, not that violent but also has some dark elements in it, and it has more rich and original history in it of its own. So that's how we come up with the world of Asterigos.
So I have to admit, it's not surprising that Kratos and the God of War trilogy are an inspiration. It makes a lot of sense when you compare the two games, especially as you say when you talk about ancient games based on ancient Greek or ancient Roman lore. It's probably the first one that comes to mind, right?
Yeah, indeed.
So our next question is, were there any elements that got scrapped and never made it to the final release? And in particular, is there anything that got scrapped that you really wish you'd had time to add?
Okay, I would say is the character's equipment customization feature, and we really feel pity that we do not have enough time and resource to add that to the game, and it has been scrapped from the original design. So for now we have only 6 weapons for players to choose, but initially we have a lot more, and there will even be dozens of weapons and armor collection, as well as all the appearance systems. But we also initially plan to let player to freely configure their weapons and combine a lot of parts together and make a very unique combat set their own. But in the end, it's just too much resource draining, and as we are a very small studio, we don't have enough people and resource to make the full customizations. So in the end, we decided to pick up the most, I would say, unique weapons for Hilda to have and to follow all the armor customization, and only leaving the appearance system that is limited to like 5 or 6 appearance for now. And it's really pity that we have to remove this part, as customization has always been a very important factor for an RPG game. But we have done that. People really want that, and we have something in mind that perhaps in the future, or a later game, we will try to add this feature back into the game we have when we can manage our resources and time in a better manner.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Right.
One of the things, I interview a lot of developers in streams like this, and one of the things that I always end up, there's always an answer that comes back to it. Time and money. Everything comes back to time and money, and you have to make priorities, right? And sometimes things just can't quite make the cut.
Yeah, and as we try to allocate all our resources, we find out that at least we can still ensure the world is really vivid, and there are enough enemy types and bosses for player to challenge.
Yeah, and that was just a better use of time. We'll be coming back to a couple of those bits in a little bit later. So,
right.
Our next question. Is there any chance of Asterigos becoming a series? Considering its deep lore and world building, in particular, is there chance for sequels set in Patience or Amberley?
Okay, so that's a very tricky question. So, yeah, it's great to see a lot of people love the world we built for Asterigos, and as we initially planned. Again, we hope, to just tell a full story, so the player will feel whole when they have the game. They won't feel the game is unfinished or just like being the first part of the story. So with that, I would say we are pretty much done with the C of Asos and the character of Hilda for now, as she already has a very full and complete character development throughout the game, if you have already played that. But, the more we spend our time into developing this game, to build this world, we feel like the game and the world really has a lot of potential and really many interesting parts that worth us to further developing or further exploring. So we feel it would be a really good idea if we can start to create another game that is based in the same world, but introducing more or different type of character and more different type of stories into it. So to make the world even richer and even larger, and we bet that will be a very good idea, that we can just build another game in the same universe, but not a direct sequel.
So there you go. And that's a very honest answer as well, thank you. It's one of the things that I've really enjoyed with these streams is we're getting very, very honest answers from developers about things like sequels, which normally people won't talk about, whereas you guys have been very open about your intentions and your wishes, which is really, really nice. So, moving on to our next question. continuing on from that last question, when regarding a potential sequel, have you given thought to the character of Eumenides and any potential alliances in the future?
Right. So for this character, Eumenides, he's a very interesting character, and we have tried to tell the story of him throughout the whole gaming experience. And with just like Hilda, we feel like his story has come to a conclusion by the end of the game. Well, just try not to spoil too much, but just let you know that at least we feel like the game is a whole one if you are talking about humanity. So we don't feel there are much more about to explore other parts of it, but perhaps, you know, if we have, you know, come to some good agreement with the, for example, American or European book publishers, then the novel our writer have prepared for the game, that would be a prequel to Asterigos, like focusing on humanity as the protagonist in the novel, could be localized and translated to English and be published, you know, in Europe or America in the future, perhaps.
So the secret to this, ladies and gentlemen, is that if you would like to see that book translated and put into English, and I think, hi, I'm one of them, it's really simple. Make noise everywhere. Post on social media to us. Shout at us. Tell us. Because the more noise that gets seen, the easier it is to get a deal like this done and actually get it translated and published. So if you guys are interested, let us know. That's really, really important.
Yep, our writer has a full book that has featured him as the protagonist, and that book has over 150,000 words. That's a lot of.
It's a lot of translation.
Yeah, but you know, a lot of good stories for him that you can further discover his past that has not been told in the game.
So there you go. Now, our next question. There are a lot of different types of weapons in the game that players can fight with. They can easily change their equipment on the go. Why did you go with the weapon types that you picked? You alluded to this earlier, where you said they were sort of the most interesting ones. How did you decide on which weapons were the most interesting?
Right. So in our initial design, we have already made up to make Hilda a genius warrior who excels in mastering and flexing using a lot of weapons. So that's why I say weapons customization was initially part of the game. But you know, when we realized that we have to remove this feature, we decided to keep the most interesting and fun weapons that were at the number of 6. And eventually, we have many other ideas such like sickles or scythe or axes or great sword, and of course bows and arrows. But we couldn't just, you know, including all those weapons in the game. So we have tried to, you know, make some weapons that are similar and trying to, I would say, blend the features of these weapons together and make it into a single weapon. For example, the staff, the magic staff Hilda is using, we feel it's good that if we can let the staff have an ability to shoot magic arrow, then the staff can, you know, become a bow and arrow, you know.
there's no need to put a bow and arrow in at that point, right?
Right.
Yeah. I understand entirely. There's no point in doubling over for the sake of it.
Right. And there's also another weapon that is called the magic bracelets that can let you conjure big weapons such as a big hammer or big swords or scythe. So that's, we blend those together into one. And instead of adding more new weapons, using magic bracelets can represent all those big swords or scythes kind of weapons.
Yeah, absolutely. So moving on to our next one. This is a follow-up. Some people would like to know, can they expect a patch to rebalance some of the weapons? Because some of the weapons are more overpowered, some players feel, compared to others. As an example, daggers and bracers.
Good. So we have always been attentive to their feedback and insights regarding how they use the weapons. And for us, although there are some weapons that have more accessibility and that are even easier to use, but from the statistics we have seen, actually all the weapons are very powerful in some aspects. So there are no weapons that are that is 10-10 to everyone. Even for magic bracelet that the less people who have used, this weapon is very powerful when you are using it against certain bosses, and there will be no other weapon that are even more helpful if you choose magic bracelet against those certain bosses. Just sorry, not feeling good too. So, yeah.
Yeah, no, it's a perfect example. So to summarize then, the point is that the weapons aren't being rebalanced because they are useful in different situations. They're not all supposed to be useful in every situation, right?
Right, and also we'll have also add a game system which is called the weapon modding system that can let you adjust and mod your weapon into different to have different abilities. So with that, you can even make some weapons or your favorite ones to even more powerful state, and we hope that could be very helpful for your adventure.
So this next question I adore because without meaning to, you've already sort of hinted towards this several times, and it's clearly something that was very, very important to you guys when you were developing. Players often comment about the immersion in the game and how easy it is to just lose themselves in the world and immerse themselves fully in the world. What was it like to build a world like that, where it was that detailed and where you have the focus on small details, things like the frescoes, the art, the statues, that sort of thing?
Right. So first we have to imagine the city in its most glorious time, and that everything is in its peak stage, and that's how people live in that period of time, and how people eat, and how people eat, how people appreciate the art. So we have buy a lot of I would say books that have detail about all the cultures and about the archaeology of the ancient Rome Empire and the ancient Greek, and we try to blend everything together, and then we try to write down everything we can brainstorm, and then after we have set up, okay, this is how the people live in the city we build, and then we say up what about if this city has been cursed, then how people live in the cursed city of the one we original build. So it's a very long process, and that's why we spend our time to do. You have to build the city in the let's say in the good stage, and then you have to destroy this city and then present the destroyed state, which is the cursed city, and then make everything together and build out the world that players are actually going to visit. So yes, that's why you will feel the city and the world that has rich history, because we have made out everything that that was not original plan in the stage that player is going to visit.
So there you go. And just to follow on a little bit, like you've mentioned it, and you mentioned it when we were chatting before we started recording, just how important it is to you guys that people can get immersed in your worlds, and how important it is to you that the world feels complete and real. Would you say that's true?
Yep.
Yeah.
That's true.
So, the next question we have is sound and music. We're going to start talking about sound and music now. What was the inspiration for the soundtrack?
All right. The soundtrack is to bring more immersive experience when players are going to play the games. So we decided to work with a very famous local composer. His name is Wei Zhang, and he's very famous for I would say game score compositions. And when we first bring this idea to him, he immediately loved it. But in order to get himself more into like how the game is going to be, he first played the game himself, so that he can imagine what he is going to bring up with what the players is going to hear from the music. So it is really great, to collaborate with a composer who is also, has passion and has interest in video games. And we are really, really lucky to meet him.
That sounds like quite the incredible process, to be honest with you. And so he was the one that then brought the soundtrack to life, I assume.
Yes, he is. And he is the only composer for the game.
So, moving on to the next question then. And we're staying with music. The soundtrack is superb, and we appreciate the focus on orchestral music. Are there any interesting tidbits you'd like to share regarding themes or zone music? Influences, ideas behind the songs, anything like that?
Okay, so there are two scores that I would especially mention. One is the theme song we call Nostalgia, and Nostalgia is a theme song for I would say the protagonist Hilda, and for the people of Athos, that they feel nostalgia to the glorious time of the city that once was, but now has fall into ruins. So that song, along with the lyrics, that will bring the real nostalgia feels, as the melody is beautiful, and it also a little bit, I would say, sad, but it is very, very, very that would linger in your heart if you have ever listened to it. And I really, really encourage you to listen to the song Nostalgia. And we also had a very, very wonderful experience when we were working with the singer Amy Evans. She really had a very, very beautiful voice that she really found out the feels we want to bring with this song, and that song and the music add to the immersive experience of the game.
And so one of the things that just immediately comes to mind there is you were smiling so much during your answer there, and while talking about that song, that piece of music is clearly important to you guys, right? Like that's really obvious.
Yes, indeed. I think it also tells the central story and everything that not just the characters but also ourselves that who wish to go back to, because the name of the song Nostalgia also let us feel all those good old memories.
Yep.
So we want this song to also bring this kind of feelings to the players.
So we're staying with music here, and obviously you got to work with a full orchestra to record the soundtrack. What was it like working with the Peter Schuttenbach band on the different variations of the game's score?
All right. So working with the band Percival is another wonderful experience, and it is also very important for us to build the world, as we want to make the people feel the world is really richful and it has a very deep history. We have made up a character who is a singer and a bard and a poet that who can write songs, so that when you have collect some ancient documents, or you have bring back some items that worth her to memorize some good memories, then she can draw inspiration from this item and write a song and sing those songs too. So it feels like a little bit like I would say ancient folk music. And when people start to sing like a bard in, for example, the shelter or the tavern, it make you feel very, very vivid and make you feel more attached to the world we create. So that's what Percival band plays. The band plays the role of the character Marisa, and through her they play the, I would say, ancient folk songs to the players, and you can collect the A songs from her, and that's why we want to bring this kind of experience to the players.
So next up we have a question going back to sort of game design and things like that.
Right.
What was your favorite location to work on when you were designing the game?
Do you mean the game locations?
Yeah, the locations in the game. Yeah.
All right. I would say the favorite location is Hidden Summit. The Hidden Summit is the tallest mountain that the player can see at the very beginning when they first start playing this game. You will see that mountain that is very high, and there's a temple on the very top of it, and you can, because the mountain is so high that you can see the mountain at every part of the city you explore. But in the end, you will start to ascend to the mountain and until you reach the very top of the temple, and that's when the story accumulates. So the mountain, it just feels so epic, it just feels so real that you can really see it, and you can really climb to the mountain by the end of the game. And that's the favorite location my home team work.
It's always nice in a game when you see something in the distance at the start of it, and you're like, no way is that part of the actual game. And then later on you realise, oh god, it actually is part of the game.
Yes, it is part of the game. And you know, all the areas of the game has been interconnected together, and so that you can actually walk from the very start to the very top of the mountain if you really want to do that.
I'm sure someone has. People
Right.
yeah, you know what
Yeah.
people are like.
Yeah, people love to do it.
So, our next question, and to be honest with you, I've been looking forward to this question because I have some stuff to show off to the audience during it. So, how does it feel seeing the huge amounts of fan-created content to do with the game? You know, we get cosplayers, we get fan art, we get the in-game screenshots being taken constantly, and obviously you guys see that. What's it like when you see that sort of thing?
We are extremely happy when we see that. Any form of artistic creation that is inspired from our game, or either they are screenshots or gameplay video or fan art, or you know, the real armors they create for themselves for those players, is just so amazing that you can imagine that there are so many people with such abilities to do those amazing things, and you can really feel their passion and feel their love for the game, and that's the biggest compliments for my whole studio.
Right? It must be something else when you see so many people falling in love with a world you've created, and so many people falling in love to the point that, like we're seeing on screen at the moment, that, you know, they go out of their way to create cosplays, to create, like you say, the art, everything, and just the obscene level of talent that is out there, precisely as you say. It is mind-boggling, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. And you know, when we realize there is particularly one character that has the most fan art drawings, that really bring a smile to everyone's face in my team.
So, I'm quickly cycling through these images again, but we will carry on.
Alright.
So, the game is about to release an anniversary update. Gameplay of which has been on the stream throughout this stream. But could you give us a breakdown of the content of the anniversary update's new game mode, and also about the new outfit that's going to be made available?
Right. So we have received a lot of inquiries from players about whether there could be a way for them to just bypass all the adventure, but just to challenge the bosses they have encountered, because they just feel those bosses, they are so unique and they are so accelerated when they have battle against them. So therefore, in the anniversary update, we have added a new game mode which is called the Boss Rush Challenge mode, and it is an addition feature to the game that when the player they have beat the game once, they can challenge all those bosses in a series of gauntlet combat, and with that, if they can overcome this challenge, they can gain the outfit Gladiator Armors. And we also choose Gladiator Armor because Gladiator is a very I would say very unique and important factor when people are talking about the history of ancient Rome.
Yeah.
So right. And
everyone thinks of the Colosseum when they think of Rome.
Yeah, everyone goes to museums. So we feel like it is a very fit theme if we want to make a new outfit for our protagonist Hilda. and that's why we decided to make the Gladiator Armor, and it will be the only armor that has a helmet. So yeah,
Something a bit unique.
hope you will like it. Yeah, it will be very unique.
And unfortunately, I'm going to have to make sure we get through these last few questions because we've already taken 50 minutes of our hour, would you believe? So,
Right.
Is the city of Athens based on Mount Olympus from Greek myth, or is it more inspired by Remus and Romulus and the founding of Rome? Which one is more the higher inspiration, would you say?
Okay, so you could say there were some references from both effects. So with the story is being inspired by the mythology, we feel like the Mount Olympus could be remade into something that will be very unique to the game world, and that part is what I just mentioned, Hidden Summit. Hidden Summit, well, is the toughest and the highest mountain that you will see from the beginning of the game, and you will even climb to the top of it by the end of the game. And we feel like because there is also one of the biggest temple that player will see from on the top of mountain, and you just feel like Mount Olympus in mythology. Yeah.
So, again, moving onward, I'm afraid.
Right.
The game has a really large Chinese following. One of the questions that we got an awful lot of is, if you do continue developing the series, will you be concentrating on providing voice acting in particular in Chinese?
Yes, of course. As we are Chinese ourselves, and we just feel, it is a pity that we didn't bring up the Chinese voice acting in the very first place. But as you know, that all the budgets are limited, and we have to figure out which one we want to bring when the resources are so limited. And as English is the language that is used by the most people around the world, and that's why we choose English voice acting as the first one we're going to implement in the game. But in the future, when we are going to develop new games, we definitely will include the budget for Chinese voice acting, and it is surely to be part of the new game.
There you go. And the next question, we now have a question about Hilda's arc within the game. Obviously, she goes through a huge amount of character development in the game, but people were asking, was there anything that, now that it's all out and it's all done, is there anything you'd go back and change about that arc, or are you really satisfied with how it ended?
I think Hilda has a very whole story, like opens throughout the game. So for us, I think we have at least wrapped up her story. But if there is something that we really want to add to the game, that we can go back and assess it more, then perhaps we want to add a little bit more flashback of Hilda, like her relationship with her family. It is also a very important part of her development that you are putting throughout the game.
So there you go. And we come to our final question. And I wanted to save this one till last because it does feel a little juicy. At the end of the game, about a quarter of the population had been turned into animals. Spoiler alert. What happened to them when the curse was lifted?
Okay, so as you can see from the ending of the story, now there's some spoilers, but the character, both Cheng and Marissa, the two characters, they are already half beasts, half humans, and they didn't return to their original human forms. So that's how you go. Those people who got turned into beasts of human, they don't get to turn back because they are in a very, I would say, a new stage of their life, and they have to, try to adapt and get used to their new forms, and that's how they are going to adjust themselves to see if they can refit to the society level when the curse has been lifted. So yes, that's their challenges, and as they are now the protagonists, I don't think they are going to focus on that part.
So there you go. They are as they are, and they're done.
Right.
So that does bring us to the end of this little Q&A session. First things first, I would just like to say thank you, Cheng. This has been absolutely wonderful, and genuinely informative, and it's really appreciated that you joined us and answered these. Everybody in the audience, I would like to remind you that the game is on sale at 45% off. If you've already got it, and let's be honest, if you're watching this, it's quite likely you do, buy it for a friend, or tell friends, tell everyone. The more that we see the game doing well, the more likely it is that more things will happen in the world of Asterigos. As well, as we stated, the anniversary update's out now with the new boss rush mode. Do give that a try. We suspect you will really enjoy it. That all being said, Cheng, thank you very much for being with us. Please do say goodbye.
Yeah, thank you, DJ, and thank you everyone for watching this session. It's been a pleasure to be part of this session, and I really hope everyone will enjoy the game of Asterigos. Thank you.
Wonderful. And ladies and gentlemen, we hope that you have a wonderful day. We'll see you again soon. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.